Hey, I'm 𝗬𝗁𝗲𝗆. Most people call me Al. I'm the race engineer on Dave's team at 𝗬𝗁𝗲𝗆 Racing. I'm 𝗬𝗁𝗲𝗆. I've been working with Dave for 5 years now and in motorsport for 17. As Dave's race engineer, my role comprises car setup and strategy at the racetrack and then design work when we're back at the workshop. So this is where I'm stationed during a race meeting, and from here is where I'll monitor the car and Dave's performance as we go through the weekend. Some of the key items that we'll investigate is the general performance of the car, its temperatures and pressures, also Dave's performance in terms of how he's driving, his corner speeds, his braking, and also during the race, the strategy for how we manage the race to get the best result. So when it comes to strategy in V8 supercars, the main things we need to look at are our fuel usage, our tyre degradation, and just our relative car performance. So during a race, for instance, this is our timing analysis software. We can see here we're in the early stages of the race. Dave's in a bit of a battle here with one of the other cars, so we're assessing his performance, whether he's in a position to move forward, what his tyre wear's like, what his fuel use is like, and we're going to do the best we can to get him some clear track because that's when you go the fastest. So during the race, I'm communicating directly with Dave, discussing things like who he's racing, who he's around, what kind of lap times he needs to achieve, and he'll be back to me telling me what the car feels like, if he's being held up, and if we need to do something to get him out into a better track position. So as we get to a race weekend, we would have already spent hundreds of hours looking at the car setup and working out which direction to head. Each track is completely different. Some tracks have long straights, some tracks have no straights, some have slow corners, some have fast corners, and track surfaces are all totally different. So we spend a lot of time communicating with each other, just using our bank of knowledge to understand the best directions ahead and what we want to do for each race circuit. At Bathurst, for example, it's a track with long straights, but also corners that require a lot of bravery. It's at high speed, so it requires a lot of downforce. So to determine the best compromise between long straights and high downforce is difficult. So we spend a lot of time deciding between us and communicating and working out the correct trade-off between maximising the downforce but minimising the drag so we can go fast down the straights. So there's lots of things we can change on a race meeting based on Dave's feedback of what the car's doing. The primary items are things like spring rates front and rear, your anti-roll bar stiffnesses, your damping stiffnesses, your aero platform with your ride heights or say your rear wing angle. So we'll spend a lot of time discussing with each other exactly what we want from the car and what the best change to make at a certain time is. During a session, it's in the heat of the moment, so the decisions need to be made quickly and rapidly to get the most out of it. And then at the end of the day, we can spend more time looking in depth, going through it properly, and then making the best change for the next day. Okay, so when we're back at the workshop, most of my time will be spent designing new components for the car, just trying to make it go faster. For example, suspension components, engine components, steering components. As an example, today I'm working on some new steering components. At the last event, we had some issues with our steering, so we're looking closely at that to try and improve it. So today I'm doing a new steering clevis for the end of the rack. That can handle, or needs to handle, up to 15 tonne of load. So obviously we're trying to make that stronger and stiffer to improve driver feedback and feel. So that's a little bit of a rundown on my role as Dave's engineer. We need a lot of trust and communication between the two of us to ensure we get the best performance out of the car to make our way onto the podium.
I've got my trusted team behind me. Make sure you get yours at JAX Tyres Auto.